Open up, Colorado. It's 420. Time to grind and burn.
This is not your son's stoner show.
Welcome to the Cannabis Community Project. This is Brainstorm, bringing you a weekly web-based radio show, podcast from the KGSS Geek Street Society radio studios deep in Aurora, Colorado. Studio lines are now open for all you cannapreneurs who want to call in and chat with me. 1-855-303-GEEK, 1-855-303-4335. Hit me up on Facebook at Cannabis Community Project, or get more detailed information and direct email at cannabiscommunityproject.com. We have a kick-ass show for you today. First time talking with North Glen Grow Depot. Great conversation. Great guys up there. Nels and the owner Alan, and even his kid chimed in a little bit with some insight to high school and the teenage life of cannabis and what it's like to be part of a family directly involved in the cannabis industry. You know, I want to thank all of you for joining us as we go into the new year with our new shows lined up. All of them are going to be excellent shows exploring in detail the business side of this newly emerging Colorado economy. We're going to make sure that we focus on the business side. I mean, this is not your son's stoner show, but we'll have a little fun with it. We'll get into a little bit of the lifestyle and what it's all about. But mainly, we want to highlight the patient, the user, the retailer, the geek in the garage, somebody that's creating that next innovation in cannabis. Talk about software startups and technology companies. Here in Colorado, we just might be sitting on top of the next U.S. industrial age. What more is going to happen when hemp comes to town? We'll find out soon. But we're going to be right here reporting on it, getting a hold of people that need to be talked to in the States. We're going to be the media channel for all you fellow cannapreneurs interested in learning about the business, building sustainable business models for yourself. It's all going to happen right here in the Colorado Community Project. Now, you know, when I started this, I pretty much had one thought in mind, and that was just to be part of this industry that's been exploding very rapidly over the last few years. Colorado and just a couple other states have oligopolized what's going on. And I think it's time that we talk about it seriously as the new American economy. Cannabis. Get used to it. You have an idea, a business, perhaps just some thoughts about what should be or should not be, give me a call. I want to speak to you. I want to know about it. I want to learn about your business idea. Together, we're going to crowdsource this, and we're going to find over 400. You want to know how many exactly? Yeah, you guessed it. 420 businesses. You know, as you're hearing the conversation today with Nels and Alan talk about this idea of finding 420 businesses, and he pointed out, oh, we're going to surpass that. We're going to go right past it. Matter of fact, it'll be 420 times 10. There's going to be thousands of businesses once hemp production starts going and the full recreational and medical continues. And just a handful of people in each business and just a handful of businesses competing, we are literally talking about thousands of businesses and multi-thousands of people to be employed. That's what we're going to discover. So I want to hear from you. Give me a call right here at the studios, 1-855-303-GEEK, 1-855-303-4335. We're going to talk to you about your business, your idea, try to figure out if we can't guide you on the right path. Marketing, you got a business? Is it a failing business? Believe it or not, most people think that all you have to do is put a name dispensary on your door and you're making millions of dollars. Not the case, as you're going to hear with a number of dispensaries that we've interviewed and with the upcoming shows over the next few weeks. This is not the cash cow that many are thinking it is. There's a misconception going on. There is money being made and money to be made, but it is not as people think, big money and big drugs. This is not Big Pharma yet, but I'm sure they're going to come to town. We're going to talk to quite a few people about what happens when Colorado locals lose the power, lose the business. What happens when big business comes to town? Will big tobacco and big pharma take over? All questions we're going to try to answer and discuss right here with you. We also got a lot of news, health, legal, food, art, music, technology to talk about. Every week we're going to be bringing you just a few tips in a few minutes here and there, making sure you're in good health with cannabis and good legal standing, eating the right foods, enjoying the cannabis art, and of course all the local music scene that are cannabis supporters. We're going to go out and support them and make sure that people know where to find good music that are cannabis supporting music lovers. The idea here is that it's a legitimate industry, so we might as well get people legitimately employed. Are you formerly a criminal because of pot? Was weed, marijuana preventing you from getting a decent job? Well, guess what? Now you can turn it into a career. A cannabis career. That's right. A cannabis career. Who would have thought? Well, a lot of people actually, for a number of years, 3-4 decades, talking about the legalization just right around the corner. And here it is. If you're a baby boomer, when you were a teenager, you were probably having the same conversation. And guess what? You're the one in control now. You're the one in charge. So make it happen. Make it happen, and let's make an industry out of it, because the other industries that we had, especially here in Colorado, are dying. Farmers are not what they used to be. We know that. This is nothing new. Seth Godin, for you marketers out there, pointed out the industrial age is over. Getting a job out of high school, working your 30, 40 years, getting a gold watch in retirement, living out another 20, 30 years, that's done. That's not how things are done in this economy anymore. We need to start thinking differently. And cannabis is going to bring back some traditional farming, but it's going to be done with a new technology, a new spin, because we also have to conserve water, we have to conserve land, we have to not use pesticides and try to be as organic and healthy as possible. This is where cannabis is really going to show agribusiness how to redo what they thought they were doing correctly in the first place. The whole world has changed. And cannabis is actually going to be right there at the forefront of it, showing people how to grow high-yield plants in small spaces with small amounts of water. And the money is going to come. Money has always been profitable in cannabis. It's just now time to make a change and shift that money from what used to be jails and courts and police and all the other negatives of society, and put that back into where it should be. Retail shops and farms and factories. Everything taxed and positively industrialized. That's what we're going to do. Join me. My name is Brainstorm, and I'm a cannapreneur building a show for and like-minded people just like you. All right. Well, now we're going to move on to our next segment of This Week in News. This Week in News is our very quick spotlight of everything relevant that's happening in the industry that you need to know in as fast as possible time. All we're going to do is utilize our Facebook homepage of the Cannabis Community Project, where we're connected to thousands of other cannabis-related media channels, from magazines to Facebook pages to websites and products and services, all posting their feed on the wall. We're going to take out the legwork for you, so all you need to do is just subscribe to our Facebook page and listen in every week for this news segment. So here's how it works. We're going to read the headline, we're going to give you the quick article, and then we're going to move on to the next one. First up, Moms for Marijuana International shared a link. Find out where you can buy cannabis in Colorado. Drug possession laws, alcohol, 1.8 million annual deaths, tobacco, 4.9 million annual deaths, weed, 0 deaths. Moms for Marijuana International again. I am more than just another pothead. I am a freedom fighter. I'm an advocate of truth, and I am here to tell you, smoke it or not, like it or not. Prohibition hurts you too. I like to get really stoned and commit random acts of violence. Said no pothead ever. Cannabis Training University. For the big grow, get 9 hours of online training, a 500-page ebook. Anyone, any state, and country can enroll and learn. I did an ad for them. All right, well, I guess now this is like a free ad service for everybody that's on my Facebook page and subscribes to me, and I subscribe to them. You get some free advertising also. I guess that's the way it works. News, ads, everything. Everything goes. Everything that's just on the wall. Cannabis becomes legal in Uruguay. Uruguay trying to break the black market with the $1 a gram. Drug possession laws shares, if you can't stand for deforestation, hemp produces more pulp per acre than timber on a sustainable basis in just 4 months. Cannabis Now magazine, step by step, how to make a bubble hash with bubble bags. Moms for Marijuana International post, the real crime is knowing cannabis can help others, but doing nothing. Oregon Cannabis News, since February of 2012, Rialto, California has required all police officers to wear a camera to monitor all interactions with the public. After this practice was instituted, the number of complaints dropped by 86%. Even if one doesn't smoke pot, one has to see the benefits of decriminalizing it. Cannabis News posted that as a quote from Danny DeVito. Who knows if that's true? Here's one supposedly from Bill Cosby, posted again by Oregon Cannabis News. If the NSA can monitor any communications they want, how come nobody on Wall Street went to jail after the biggest financial scandal in history? Supposedly, Bill Cosby said that. 3D Cannabis Center opening for recreational sales on January 1st, 2014, 8 a.m., posting pictures of their license on the walls. We'll see how it works out. A lot of controversy going on right now with the recreational versus marijuana. What's going to happen in this retail market? And that was the news. Everything you need to know this week that you would have heard anywhere or would have had to read. But who needs to read? We'll do the reading for you, the posting and the sharing. Again, just tune into our Facebook page and listen to us right here on Cannabis Community Project for everything that's going on in the social media news feeds. We're going to consolidate it, aggregate it, and bring it to you. Let's move on now to a quick segment for a special guest of the show, Luke Chandler from Reason to Rebel. If you're from Southern California, San Diego area, you're going to recognize this band. From Reason to Rebel rocks this show from their new album. Luke is a musician, a cannapreneur, an activist, and outspoken. He stands up for the 99%ers, fighting the 1%ers with his lyrics. We're going to speak to him and find out all about where we all can get our inspiration and our reason to rebel. Are you in your van?
Yeah, actually I am. I was hauling a bunch of building materials around all day, helping my friend with some construction project. I don't know if I drive around in the van.
How many miles do you have on that van?
It's at 233,432.
And that has literally gone from coast to coast.
Multiple times, for sure. At least 5 times, if not more.
Well, how have things been going?
Oh, good, man.
Yeah.
Ever since we came back from that last tour, back in the studio writing more songs. We went and recorded Ike Owens, the keyboard player from the Mars Volta. Did some remixes, some reimaginings of some of our songs. The last show of that tour, and then we did another show with Finch in Hollywood a couple of weeks back at the Fonda Theater. So 10-year anniversary of their first album.
Right now, you're just playing locally around San Diego?
Yeah, we have a show in San Diego a week from Tuesday, January 7th, at a spot called the Griffin. And I'm actually in the process of doing a little bit of touring this spring. We're going to go out to Texas in March, and we're going to do a few short runs, go up the West Coast and do the Pacific Northwest and Northern California. We're going to fly out to the East Coast and do some shows out there, and also drive and do a run, which would bring us through Denver, which would be Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, somewhere in Kansas.
Nice.
So, kind of split up and do some smaller tours.
Nice.
In the meantime, as we continue to write more songs.
Is there any specific dates or cities that you want to mention?
I know we have one show confirmed in Austin during the South by Southwest Music Conference, March 15th or 14th. Houston, possibly Phoenix. We're definitely trying our best not to neglect the fans and good people we got to meet on this last tour and come back and see everybody and play some more music. The
last album, Tour Rebellion.
Yeah, it's an EP, 6 songs.
That's the album that we took the opening song from, Open Up.
Yes, Open Up. That's the opening number for your show, and it's also the opening song on our album.
That's a kick-ass song, I gotta say.
Good opener.
It kicks ass. It rocks.
It seems to strike a chord in people, the message and just everything else about it.
What can you tell me about the message there? What is this song about? Did you write it?
Yeah, most definitely. It's a song with the intention of waking people up and kind of pointing out the disparity between the 1% and then the rest of our country. It can also apply to people in all parts of the world where there's a big chasm between those that have and those that don't. A lot of times, the people that do are usually the ones that have figured out, if not how to break the law, how to change the law so that what they do isn't illegal when it should be. A lot of people make a lot of money off of screwing everybody else over, and that's part of the reason it allows people to create their own medicine and all kinds of other products and things that could be of use without having to buy from corporations.
Do you consider the band Reason to Rebel to be a political band?
I leave that open to the people to listen to and come up with their own interpretation of the music. That when I'm writing lyrics, I'm definitely talking about a lot of specific political, social issues. A lot of people all over the world, and we as a band kind of feel it's our responsibility to write music that is unique, but also with a message, whether it be positive or sometimes when you look at the future, it can sometimes look pretty bleak. People have the ability to create change. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to happen often enough.
So how did the band start?
We're from North County, San Diego, California. We started about 9 years ago. Originally, I had been in other projects and had worked on an album that I was writing, and I met up with the other 3 members of the band, my guitarist, Evan Jones, my drummer, Daniel Zivkovich, and my bass player, Sam Parchin. We all met up spontaneously and jammed together for the first time and realized that we had something, and same 4 guys for the past 9 years, 5 albums, and done a lot for a band that does everything on our own, independent.
5 albums in 9 years. That's a good stretch. What's next?
Right now we're already writing another album, planning to do as much touring as we possibly can. We really enjoy bringing our show to the people, wherever they may be. The more we get to do that, the happier we are. In the meantime, when we're not able to tour, we spend our time writing songs and coming up with ideas for music videos and such. You can expect a new music video from us in a few months.
Now, you mentioned your people. Who is your people? So for people here in Denver that maybe are new,
we want to reach out to everyone, honestly. Anyone that can listen with an open ear and an open mind. People that are inspired to want to create change and make the world a better place. We feel that our music's ability to reach people from all platforms. We're definitely a rock band. If people come out and expect to hear campfire folk songs, they might be disappointed. But our live shows, we pride ourselves on having a lot of intensity and trying to connect with the crowd, make it an experience for everyone that's there. They're going to remember and hopefully will inspire them to be creative or to open their mind to what the world really is about.
Well, I saw you play out here at the Bluebird Theater just a couple months ago, and I definitely found that connection. My wife from Mexico, who primarily listens to Mexican banda music, also found it to be a very kick-ass show and found a connection with the music. My mom has the CD, and she has a connection with the music, so I think you're right. And it definitely has a strong message and a strong beat to it, and it has a few riffs that really just make you tap your foot and nod your head because it has such a strong political message to good music.
Yeah, we've been doing this a long time, but we've had a chance to meet people from all different parts of this country. Definitely has inspired us to want to continue to create music for the people. Our style might not have had as wide of a range of appeal in that we wrote a lot of music that would be considered maybe music for musicians. Basically, us just trying to show off, which is fun, but at the same time, we also come to realize over the past couple albums that getting direct to the point in what we're doing works in terms of drawing people in.
Well, let's end this conversation on the topic of cannabis.
It's one of my favorite topics.
Good. Music and cannabis go together like any great metaphor you can think of, peanut butter and jelly and everything else. What is your connection to cannabis? What kind of statement do you want to make?
What I think, honestly, is that cannabis really has a lot to do with personal freedom, and in terms of the ability of a person to medicate themselves in a way that they find fitting for their body, and to not be told that they can't do that by politicians, lawmakers, police officers, when in actuality you're not even hurting yourself, but in a good number of times you're actually helping your body. As the science has finally started coming out in terms of what cannabis can do and how it actually helps people that find that they need it, it all boils down to the chemicals in their brain, how their body works by telling them that they need that. It's about freedom. It's about you having the choice to do what you want with your body, and nobody should be able to tell you one way or the other. And the fact that now in your state and Washington, we finally have a couple of states that finally said, hey, we're going to stand up for our freedom in this regard. And you have a country, South America, that's doing the same thing. I mean, it's becoming a phenomenon in of itself, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that information now more than ever before in our lifetimes or in the course of history is readily and easily available. The people that created the disinformation that convince people that cannabis is a bad thing and it's evil and wrong, they can't doing that by sheltering people from from the reality and the truth and the science. And since all that's out there and you can, at the push of a button, find it for yourself, it's only a matter of time before everywhere it's going to be legal, as it should be.
Absolutely.
And whether it happens within our lifetimes remains to be seen, but progress farther than I ever imagined growing up.
Absolutely. Already happening here in Colorado. Are you persuaded to relocate from Southern California to Colorado?
Well, honestly, I think that California, it's going to happen in 2016. I love Colorado, but I'm too entrenched in Southern California. You know, my band members, they're all from here. The idea definitely has some potential. It is appealing. The idea of complete freedom to do what you want to do in that regard without hurting anybody it's a wonderful thing. And I think people are going to flock to the state of Colorado for that reason.
Absolutely.
You know, I already have a lot of friends that have left Southern California growing up in Texas, where you can go to jail and be in there for days, if not weeks, for a roach of a joint. Yes. I mean, if I still lived there, I probably would have already moved to Colorado,
yes.
Honestly. You know, Southern California, the culture is so open to marijuana, and has been for so long, being the first state to pass medicinal. It's definitely a state headed in the right direction, for sure. But Colorado beat us to the punch, and I had to applaud you for that.
Well, you're always welcome, and when you come back through, we would like to sponsor you, have you come into the studios and maybe play a song, and definitely have us come out and support your events also. And all the other cannapreneurs can find you. They can hear your music, learn more about your activism, get in touch with you.
Sure. ReasonsToRebel.com, or just Google Reason to Rebel, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the other stuff that the kids are into these days. You can also download the Reason to Rebel app to your smartphone from the Play Store, the App Store, Android, or Apple phones.
Yeah, we also got to get set up a direct app where individuals from our webpage can just maybe download and purchase the song straight from any one of those channels.
Yes, sir. My kind of community.
Band number 1 interviewed on the Cannabis Community Project. Yeah, I appreciate it, Luke. I appreciate it, man. It's always a pleasure. Great interview with Luke there. Reason to Rebel, great band. I saw them at the Bluebird Theater just a couple months ago. They rocked the house, traveling around with Finch. Oh, I can't wait for them to come back to Denver. San Diego band, but it's only a couple hours away, so we're going to invite them back as often as possible. Maybe in a couple months here, we might even be able to sponsor a concert with them. So we really appreciate them donating their song, and we're going to use it thoroughly in this show. Let's move on now to our main interview of the hour, closing out the show with the North Glen Grow Depot. Nels and Alan up there. This was really an interesting interview that I learned a lot from, and I hope you guys get the same thing out of it. Let's take a listen.
Dijeron que en el reino del revés nada el pájaro y vuela el pez, que los gatos no hacen miau ni dicen yes, aunque estudian mucho inglés. Vamos a ver cómo es el reino del revés. Vamos a ver cómo es el reino del revés.
Well, welcome to Grow Depot off of 104th and Huron, and I'm here with Alan Bergfalk. How you doing today, Alan?
I'm doing well.
And Alan is joined with Nels Anderson. How you doing today,
I'm
Nels?
good. I'm doing well.
Store, it's a very big place. You have a lot of products. I assume that means you're heavily involved in the industry. Is that a correct assumption?
I hope choosing words carefully there.
Yeah. The people that are listening to us, we are looking for a little bit of insight into business side. So if you can help us out today and give us some good growing tips, everything that an individual from the basic to the advanced would need to know about growing, and then help us out understanding the business side of it, what you've had to go through with the state of Colorado to be in business, if it's required to do anything different than any other business. I don't know. So I'm going to approach this interview like I know absolutely nothing, and that's not too far from the truth. You're the experts, and I'm the one learning here. So, Alan, I understand you've been the owner here for a couple years.
Yes, bought the business 11-11-11.
Well, that's good numerology. What's your background?
I've lived in Hawaii for 30 years, and I moved here and purchased this business off Craigslist.
Now, that is a story all in itself. Do you want to give us any more, or is that
I'm here
just
because
as it
of the
sounds?
Japanese tsunami that hit Hawaii in March of 2010, I believe it was.
You had to leave your home in Hawaii.
No, I have a business back there, and I lost a part of my income, and I was looking to change businesses anyway. I have a transportation company back there. I left it to my older son. He's running it still. I still have a home there, but I wasn't able to find anything to do there. I looked at buying restaurants, other taxi companies. I looked at numerous things, and nothing worked out. So my wife and I have had a house here for some time, and we just kind of transitioned back here.
In the industry you're in, what percentage of your business is cannabis versus gardeners?
I would say the majority is cannabis growers, but we do have customers that are growing exotic orchids and tomatoes and vegetables.
And you're open arms to anybody that walks through the door because your focus here is just growing.
Yeah, maybe we get some free tomatoes or something. Somebody brought some
tomatoes.
peppers, the ghost peppers.
Well, there you go. Already paying off. So on your business here, you have a 9,000 square foot.
We have a 9,000 square foot retail showroom.
Compared to other sites, is that considered big?
It's considered big, probably the top 10 stores.
Yeah.
Nels, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are first, since we know Alan's the owner. What is your role here?
The funny thing is that I answered a Craigslist ad. That's how I met Alan. It was Christmas, 3 years ago? He'd hired a few guys, and we all kind of got in and started helping basically repair a store that was in a great location, had great customers. The owner just didn't really appreciate what he had. So it was just winning back those customers. And I think we've done an amazing job of that just because we went from a 2,000 square foot location into this location.
And what were you doing previous to this?
I've always been involved in retail. Had lived in Texas for 4 or 5 years, had left here because of a back injury, moved to warmer climates, discovered that cannabis could help me with my pain, and decided to move back. Just wanted to get involved somehow.
So you got involved in cannabis due to an injury?
Yeah, I injured my back in 98 and pretty much lived in pain for 10 to 11 years until a lady in my church in Texas gave me a tincture, and I started taking it. Pain went away. I lost 60 pounds in 3 months. Didn't realize what I was taking, though, because I wasn't really a cannabis-type person. Went in for a job interview, the main job interview. I knew the people there, and she contacted me and told me that I had peed hot on my test for marijuana. I said, that's impossible. I don't smoke. I don't do anything like that. I don't know what you're talking about. Contacted my friend at church, and she informed me that, in fact, I had been using cannabis for a good year, and it was probably why I couldn't get a job. The choice for me, though, was do I quit taking this and go back to being in pain, or do I find a job that's pro-cannabis that allows me to medicate when I need to and live a pain-free life and have the lifestyle I want? And on that choice, we decided to move back to Colorado. Before working for Alan, I had worked at 2 other locations. One was an actual greenhouse location that did floral, like flower, because my background's also farming. And then the other one was another grow store, smaller grow store. I've got an amazing green thumb, so it kind of was one of those things where the people that I was involved in the cannabis industry were always pushing me like, hey, you should get involved, you should get involved. And I was like, it wasn't my cup of tea.
Well, that's an interesting story because being here in Colorado, the first state with just maybe 1 or 2 other states, really leading the way in recreational use, starting from a medical patient standpoint, you're kind of the example of the patient, the one who doesn't use it recreational, or didn't, I don't know if you do now, but didn't use it and then came across it for medical reasons. So your story is really the one that other people should know about, because in 2014, everybody's going to be talking about the recreational user, the stoner, the pothead, any other name you can think of running around in the street. But we're forgetting to look at 13 years ago when the medical law first came into Colorado. It was designed to help patients. Your story is, I think, a very powerful story and one that should be shared. What can you tell me a little bit about the growing side of cannabis at the store here? There's shelves and shelves of products, which we'll get into in a second. But aside from the products, what else are you doing here at the store?
So there's a fine line with it because we still work in an industry where nationally what we do is illegal. For the benefit of our distribution and where we get like through the wholesale, there's really a fine line where you need to walk with that. So like when people come in, we still need to be kosher about like discussing stuff. It's just not open cannabis conversations. It's still very closed-lipped. You still have an understanding of like what's going on between people. But I'll tell you this, I've helped set up more gardens where they're not cannabis in people's garages than I have done anything else. And it's been through the store. And it's usually people that you're talking, a lot of retirees, don't have anything to do, need a hobby. They're like, why am I spending all this money on organic produce? I've seen this on different infomercials and commercials and like late night stuff, and they come in the store and start picking your brain on it. And when you show them different levels of what they can do, they immediately jump on it.
So the indoor growing is where you're seeing people wanting help, but not for cannabis, just indoor plants and tomatoes and
yeah,
cucumbers.
But then you also have your normal customer that comes in that definitely they're wanting their pick six is what I call it. They come in, they've got the right to grow six. We understand that, and we're working with them. And you're starting to see things become lesser and lesser to where it's not as harsh on us for what we do.
Right.
Again, you still need to be tight-lipped about it. We're not running around just like blatantly like talking cannabis with people. A lot of the time it's tomatoes. Mm-hmm. Talk a lot of tomatoes.
A lot of euphemisms.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're gradually, like I said, you're seeing that wall fall down just because of what's happened here in Colorado and in Washington. So.
Yeah. That's interesting. Now, you mentioned a couple of key points is that you have to be careful with what you say because nationally, obviously, it's very different than locally here in Colorado. This might be a question more for Alan, I don't know, but did you have to or do you have to do anything different than any other store because of the nature of your products here?
We did not because we're not like directly selling any type of those products. You still have to get a business license from the state, a license from the city. When you move into a store, you got to have all the proper codes have got to be enforced, permits and stuff. Other than a business license, there's nothing special.
You're a growing shop, and it just happens to be that a big part of your customers just want to be growing cannabis. Absolutely. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, be like somebody opening a Coors factory, right? One side of the topic. Do you guys feel any moral dilemma at all with helping people grow cannabis?
I have none because I believe we've seen customers come in the store that have benefited from it. And in the news and in the media, there are people directly that have benefited from it. And probably for years, ancient people have been using it. We're behind the curve and just not catching up to that.
As far as business goes, is business increasing because of the increasing cannabis industry?
We noticed one interesting fact is that after Amendment 64 was passed, we've seen a lot older couples coming in the store, and we started taking more American Express cards.
So when you say older, what are we talking here?
Old retired couples.
60
older.
plus?
Yes.
Okay. Which is interesting because that would mean these were individuals who were teenagers, 60s, 70s.
Baby boomers.
So right around the time when probably people thought it was going to be legal, 30-some years later, it finally is legal. It's probably the same generation, yeah?
Well, just to kind of go on what Alan said is like, but it was pretty funny after that. They're like, it's legal for me to have it? I'm doing it. Our good customers were the people who were coming in that we were helping set up just vegetable gardens in their house. And when 64 passed, in-home growers, like, what can you tell me about cannabis? Because I've got this pain in my hip and my arm, and I've got glaucoma, and like my uncle and my aunt and one of my best friends are the ladies I play bridge with, and the guys are like, hey, I'm part of this like old group and blah, 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 and they're saying that it's helping them, so they come in and they want to know. They're not the people, though, that you're going to see walking into dispensaries.
Right.
They would rather use their knowledge of what they grew up with. A lot of these people grew up on like farms or had small gardens in their backyards and are very apt at growing.
Yeah.
So they would rather have their own product.
You know, you bring up a good point as far as an opportunity. So anybody's out there that's looking to create a dispensary, I visit a lot of them, so I see a lot of what's going on out there. A dispensary for a different demographic would be a great opportunity because there's a huge number of people, just like you're talking about, who want to be involved, just don't want to walk through a dispensary door. If you're in that demographic, it might be a little awkward asking for some green crack. You know, I'd like an eighth of green crack or something else.
Or show up when your grandson's in the same place as you are. It could be an awkward moment.
It could be. So I think for anybody else out there, a dispensary that maybe caters towards a different generation might be a great corner on the market out there. Let's talk a little bit about the difference of growing a tomato versus cannabis. Would there be a big difference in the type of products and recommendations that you would steer them to?
There isn't a lot of difference between the tomato and the cannabis plant. They grow very similar. If I ask people, hey, can you grow tomatoes? And they say, yeah, I'm like, well, then you can grow cannabis.
So if somebody had invested a few $100s in buying up a bunch of equipment to grow tomatoes and now had the idea, I'm going to grow cannabis, they can use that same equipment.
Exactly, and they could use a lot of the same techniques, just a few different nutrient-based tweaks, you're good to go.
Well, I don't want to get into too much detail because I'm sure we could do hours and hours and hours on how to grow. But if we can just hit one general point where if I'm a brand new individual into the growing, I barely know what soil looks like and I roughly know how to turn on a light, what can I expect to walk out with for a beginner kit, a get up and growing kit, if you will?
A couple pots and some good soil. We try to supply equipment to people according to their budget, try to give them the most value for their budget.
Okay, so if I come in and I say, I don't really know what I need, but I know how much I have to spend, you'll work through the process.
We'll work them through. We have used equipment, at great values all the way to top of the line, brand new equipment. So we can work something that's pretty much everybody's budget.
I remember seeing on your website, you guys also buy back used. Did I read that right?
We buy used equipment, sell used equipment.
And if you wanted to upgrade in a sense, we would buy back what you've bought from us at a percentage, and you're able to upgrade if you want to through stuff, because some people go from just being to where they become enthusiast hobbyists, to where they really, all of a sudden they get the bug and they're like, I have to have the Mercedes of this and the Porsche of that and the BMW of this and the Lamborghini. So you're like, all right, well, here's this and this and this. But really, you can pretty much get around anywhere in a Volkswagen.
So the people that stand in line for the new iPhone might be the ones here looking for the new equipment.
We definitely have some guys that are like that.
If you're on a flip phone.
We haven't had anybody camping in our parking lot yet, but maybe that day will come. We'll purchase the stuff that we sell from our main vendors here in Denver, and in that way, if anybody has an issue with it, if it's still under warranty, we can get it warranted through one of our vendors here in Denver. I think most people, the majority of it probably get sold on Craigslist. Individual seller sells, but then there are other people that don't want people coming to their house.
Is security ever an issue when it comes to equipment? Obviously we're not selling cannabis and we're not dealing with cannabis, so we don't need to actually worry about violating laws. Is there ever a security issue? I'm sure some of this stuff can get pretty expensive. I know lights can get into that.
It can get expensive, and I think probably the main thing is like a lot of other businesses, there probably are undesirable people out there.
Mm-hmm. So if I had a home set up, a few $100s, maybe even a few $1,000s, do you know of an insurance company that insures that type of stuff, or is it just protect it, don't tell anybody about it?
I don't know of any insurance companies, but I have heard that there are insurance companies that will insure your grow equipment in your house.
Okay.
A lot of the renter's insurance don't care about what it is. They look at it as an asset. It's a claimable asset. As long as it's documented on your asset page with the places that do the renter's insurance, they overlook that within the first couple of days, and they're going to come back to you and say, what is this stuff? And you can tell them. But again, if I'm using it for my garden to raise my vegetables with, it's something they're definitely going to cover.
I guess it'd be no different than insuring an outdoor greenhouse.
No.
They wouldn't ask you what you're growing in the greenhouse. They would just want to know the greenhouse itself is there.
Right.
So if there's any insurance companies out there that don't offer this would be another great opportunity for a business. The few people I know that grow, they're in the thousands of dollars now as far as equipment goes, and it's unsecure. It's kind of a lot of garage.
I would say wait until next year and the insurance companies will come.
Like most business, the banks, everybody else, they're waiting basically for
everybody's going to want
regulation.
A piece of the pie.
Yeah. Let's talk about something that's cool. What do you have in the store here something we can take a photo of, throw up on a Facebook at the North Glen Grow Depot, that may be something you have that nobody else has, or something you have that...
Absolutely. We've got two of the coolest things around, even more so than any other store. That's Nels and I.
We got to second that right out.
We look great on Facebook.
So human knowledge. Human knowledge is the product here. As the experience, the knowledge, and just working with individuals.
We actually do have a product, and it's a new technology using ceramic metal halide bulbs that really didn't have a premise to be used in a grow. Somebody walked around with a par meter at a Phillips factory, hit it, the par ratio came back right, and they were like, oh, well, maybe you could grow with this.
Can you just explain a little bit what a par ratio is?
It's something that all of us are fed up with because it's not a true accurate reading of light, but it's the closest thing we can get to it. And there's a big argument in the industry where a lot of guys will say that par doesn't mean anything. The other standard is looms, and it's all looms, and a lot of guys say, no, there's nothing to do with looms.
This has to do with the intensity of the lights?
Yeah, like what it is, and then there's different Kelvin ratios, and again, it could be a whole nother show. But it's a business that people are looking into because these bulbs burn at a less point of electricity. So instead of you spending at 1,000 watts, these in a dual bulb setup run to where they're almost at 600 watts. So you're saving about 40% over the year with the same production. They also aren't as hot as a normal bulb, so there's less heat involved, so there's less cooling involved, and then that affects your whole entire electric bill. And really when it comes down to it is like, that's your
savings.
Yeah.
And when it comes to growing, because now we're talking about indoor growing using lights, is this the biggest percentage of expense of the person runs into, is the lighting and electricity?
As far as long term, probably so.
Okay, so this is very important to have this new lighting that reduces that, because it's not just about yielding better products, it's about reducing cost.
Cost over long term.
Right.
Excellent. Very good. Is there anything that the audience should know about?
I think besides having a vast quantity of products, we have a staff that has a lot of experience, and we've probably got more skills than Napoleon Dynamite.
How do you weed out in your hiring process the stoner dropouts versus those who may use cannabis or may not, but are professionally knowledgeable working people?
They show up for the interview.
That's all it takes, huh?
Yeah, in the first week, we typically know, like, you're either in the trenches or you're not.
So the quote is slipping me of the famous person that said showing up is half the battle, right? I forget who said that. And I know there's a famous quote, and showing up is half the battle. So can we talk just a little bit more about the business side of it? How many products do you have in the store here? I mean, 9,000 square feet has just got to be...
I think we have over 10,000.
Wow. Access to probably, about 100,000 through everything? So
through distributors and other people.
So we have access to that. Pretty much what's on the shelves is what is high demand and in need, and then a lot of like the newer trick stuff that we're getting in, or maybe running a special on some things.
How do you manage that inventory?
Well, you have
our point of sale system manages it.
Okay, so technology, relying a lot on technology.
Yeah.
What if you had an individual walk through your door that was the geek in the garage, right? The guy who's tinkering around with some new something they're figuring out, and they walk through the door and they say, hey, I got this little prototype I'm working on. What do you think?
We have products on our shelves like that are manufactured here in Colorado by individuals.
Do they need to be an up-and-going company to talk to you, or can somebody walk through the door with a prototype?
They can walk through, but they better be sure it's tried and tested, because we test the products and make sure they're good stuff before they're used before it goes on the shelf.
So you're not looking to necessarily help develop products with individuals, but you're open to individuals with their own.
There's been I would say 2 that I know of that we've helped with the testing process of products, and both really didn't go further than what they were because there was so much involved in it that they just didn't understand when they started the project, that they just kind of ran away from it as fast as they could when they came in and started being like, I don't know anything about this, but I want to get involved in it. Started asking us questions, and I was like, well, then you've got to think about this, and you have to think about this, and you have to think about this. And then you turn around and show them the same product they're trying to develop that was developed 2 years ago on a website. So
So if you come in with something, you better have your ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Done your research, done more than just a prototype of duct tape and glue, but actually maybe have a...
And it needs to be a working product.
Yeah,
a working
one of the
model.
things that I really have enjoyed being in this industry has been one of the people that, when you're at shows, a lot of the reps will come want to get that product into your hand and have you test it.
Right.
Because you're honest. I'm really honest about stuff. And someone comes and brings me something, I might be a little bit too honest, but that's what they've appreciated. Over the last 4 or 5 years, I've been able to test different nutrient lines, test different products.
There's probably very little you haven't seen at this point.
Yes and no, because I mean we're in the United States.
Right.
I try to keep track of what's going on in Australia and what's happening in Europe.
Are these bigger markets in the growing?
Nels just got back from Amsterdam.
Was that a personal business?
I actually won a trip through one of our vendors' house and garden they're kind of stepping away from the cannabis industry and getting more involved in food production. And because I'd grown up on a farm, they were flabbergasted that I said, hey, that's great, let's go. I was able to go tour their facility, their testing labs. The second day that I went out with them, I was able to go to all their farms and go see what they're doing and what they're implementing. And it was amazing because they grow in clay. And one of the biggest things that they say is that we grow from the land reclaimed from the ocean. And they said that a lot throughout all the farmers that I met and the different people that I was able to associate with. It was a great experience. And it's something that I would have not had a chance if it wasn't for Craigslist.
Yeah. Craigslist seems to be a central theme here as far as buying businesses to finding jobs to selling products. Craigslist is a central platform, but there's a lot of issues as far as who you're talking to and the security issues. Another business opportunity, if somebody wants to create a Craigslist-like system, but it's exclusively cannabis and has some type of security feature built into it.
Somebody to put a credential in there so you've got background of credential before you're allowed to even post, something like that.
Yeah, so somebody out there get working on the Colorado version of the cannabis Craigslist idea, because that's what we really need. Information and dispensaries that are trying to advertise on Craigslist, and then individuals that are trying to push their own stuff. It's just a big chaotic page. Something similar to that where people know who you're dealing with, where you're at. Both people are not anonymous but are recognizable and in a secure manner. I think so far we've come up with at least 3 or 4 possible business opportunities, from selling insurance on equipment to new social media platforms. One last thing, if somebody wanted to venture down a similar industry of being in a growing type business, what is the one key to success you could give them that if you want to manage a grow store, this is the one thing you should keep in mind?
It takes a lot of money. Any business.
Yes. So not just your business, but business in general. And when we're talking about a lot of money, we're not talking about credit card type money. We're talking about real money, the type where you have to go to other people with suit and ties and give proposals and plans.
And I believe the whole industry is going to that. You're going to see a lot more suits and ties next year.
And the bankers obviously are very hesitant and don't want to do much. But next year, I assume we're going to have people coming out of the woodwork. So for anybody that does want to get involved in the cannabis industry, whether it's a growing business, if you think you're lucky enough to get involved in a dispensary business, which I would not recommend at this point.
Look at tourism. I think tourism right now for Colorado, because people are allowed to travel here to the state of Colorado right now and possess up to a quarter ounce. It's amazing how a lot of the ski towns or tourist towns are the ones that really are open arms right now about the industry. There's money to be made there.
Speaking of coming to Colorado, 2 weeks ago, early in the morning when we opened up, there was a van out in our parking lot. We didn't pay any attention to it. Then later on, there was this older man that came in the store, and he was wandering around. I think all of us asked him if he needed any help or needed anything, and he said, no, just looking around. And come to find out, he started talking to us. He had driven up here from North Carolina, and he goes, I drove up here just because of the laws and stuff that just changed here. He goes, I just got here this morning. He goes, can I get a job?
Oh, my.
And we're like,
good ambition.
We're really not hiring right now, but, good luck, But he drove up here from North Carolina overnight and just got here because...
Well, I applaud his ambition, but have to give him a thumbs down for his pre-planning
he was staying in his van.
Reality of thinking there. Ambition's always good, I guess.
And he was an older gentleman. He wasn't a young guy.
What one can do to make a business in this industry. Our goal is to find 420. I have a feeling we're going to go into the thousands.
I think you easily can get into that range.
Yeah, maybe
420 times 10.
There you go. That might be actually the new tagline. 420 times 10.
One of our good clients that comes in the store is one of the guys that drives a lot of the buses up and down, picks up people from DIA and drives them up. Decided that he was going to do a cannabis-friendly bus ride. He pitched it to his boss. His boss said no. He went out and found 2 Ford vans, modified them, so they pick you up from DIA, cannabis-ready. Sober driver drives you all the way up to the mountain, hangs out, does whatever, brings you back to DIA, whatever's going on for you. So there's just so many different crazy, I call it stoner ingenuity, going on in Colorado, where it's like, hey, how can I take what I'm doing right now and make a buck doing what I really love? Ingenuity.
Right. It's just another couple steps further to just figure out how to make a business model, right?
I think the only problem in that equation is that people, when they start their own business, they never realize it's a lot of work. You're going to work twice as hard as any other business.
Yeah.
That's really what the key of this show is. We really want to find all those individuals out there who maybe they're sitting in their garage right now tinkering around with some new innovation. It doesn't have to be growing, but something that's cannabis related. Maybe you just always love being involved in cannabis and you're working at McDonald's for minimum wage. You can be poor and broke on your own. You don't need to work for another company to be poor and broke. So if that's the only thing that was holding you back from starting a business or going out there and trying to sell your own product is because you think you're going to be broke, you're probably already broke now. Probably already working a minimum wage job and barely getting along, and you're probably just miserable. So why not transfer that to something you enjoy? And there's many, many people out there who just love this industry, not as a user, but just as an industry, just like how people love music and movies and art and everything else. This is an industry people can get involved in. Let's start businesses. Let's make people employable. I don't know what the percentage is of unemployed people here in Colorado, but whatever that number is, I know we can bring that down to zero just by the 420 times 10, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When they start farming outdoors, you're going to see a lot of people move here just for the hemp point of it. We haven't even,
Yeah, we haven't even touched on that.
There's another 420 jobs right there of like just people involved in the hemp industry. Because around how there's 10,001 uses for hemp.
Yeah.
So that means there's probably 10,001 jobs that can be created or businesses created around that.
Well, I mean, if we just did basic math, so let's just say 400 for easy numbers, and there was 100 people in each of those businesses. 400 times 100, 40,000? Am I good on my math? And that's just with 100 people. If we times that by 10 and had a few thousand businesses and had a few hundred people, a few hundred is nothing. Can I ask how many people you employ here?
We have several handfuls.
All right, several handfuls. Several handfuls, one business, times 420 times 10. Realistically, we could be looking at a genuine revolution of how to take care of unemployment, and it's not that hard. If hemp alone has thousands of potential jobs, the cannabis side of what we're talking about, that has the THC, the real gold there, that right there, how many millions of dollars are just waiting to be employed? How many millions of dollars are being used right now to jail people, to prevent this industry from happening, to use up time with legislation, when that money could just be going towards positive things? And that's what I think the idea that most people are starting to understand, that it's not about jailing people and clogging the court systems and trying to stop dispensaries and head shops from popping up, but about employing those people. Why not make this an industry where we can legitimately tax them and make people employed and be happy and get them working?
I think the key word there is tax. And people don't understand that. Like, what the first $40 million goes to our education system. Just talking from being a parent, it upsets me because I see them spending so much time on cannabis and all this legislation. And then you look around and you look at how many other serious problems there are in the state of Colorado. Why aren't they taking care of that? It kind of gets put to the wayside. All this stuff gets full attention. And it's the media aspect of them not wanting to really spread the truth, but just to spread something that's going to sell and they can make their money off of it.
I mean, that's a pretty serious issue you brought up. I'm a parent also. I have a daughter, a 6-year-old daughter. Your son is here joining you. If we can kind of close out this conversation with just what is the message your kids would like to take away from not just being a business? I mean, obviously being in business is a good message in itself, but the fact that you're dealing with cannabis, the fact that you might have to admit publicly, if you're not already, that you had to use it for pain one day and that maybe we're recreational users. What do we tell our kids?
How about we let the kid answer that?
All right.
What has your father told you about it?
So let's introduce you. Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Dylan.
Hi, Dylan. How you doing?
I'm good.
And you are Alan's son?
Yes.
And how old are you?
I'm 17 years old.
What is it like in high school? What's the idea with, let's just use the word marijuana. What do people talk about? They talk about ganja, weed, pots. What are...
Well, I guess in a student point of view, it's more of the kind of stoner impression.
Okay.
There's nothing really about the whole business aspect of it. It's more about getting really high.
Is it looked at as neutral, positive, negative? What are kids your age looking at this industry? Is it still considered the thing for young kids to do?
I say it depends on the kid, really, and where you grew up. I definitely have a really big positive idea of it, and also coming from Hawaii, it's a lot bigger there, too.
The industry.
Not the industry, but
Just the use.
use.
Okay.
Yes. From Colorado, I'd say it's probably about neutral. But if you're in the whole industry of it, it's definitely a positive image. Once you actually understand it more, you start to get a positive image of it.
So working with cannabis for you is a positive thing.
Yeah, because then you hear about the stories of like Nels with his back.
Okay. Are you going to take over one day here?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
No,
what's
tell me
in.
what you want to do. This is DJ Poppin' Lock.
You're a DJ.
No, I'm not a DJ yet. Aspiring.
Well, you definitely have to tune into Geek Street Society. Music is related to every industry. I mean, the whole lifestyle is almost inconceivable as far as what we thought would happen. Just a few years ago, people would laugh at us when they thought the medical was going to move towards the recreational. So who knows? I mean, 2016, being an election year, causes politicians to do crazy things, trying to get the young vote, right? They're trying to tap into our world, so you never know. In 2016, we may have a president running for office that says, I did inhale. Who knows? You know?
I think Obama did that for us. He already said, I think that was the point. When they asked if he inhaled, he said, I think that was the point.
Yeah.
So I don't think he clearly admitted to using, but I mean, when he said, that's the point on it.
And I think there's a number of photos also of him enjoying himself as a youngster. Well, this has been an interesting conversation and a peek into your world here at the Grow Depot. We're going to go out and we're going to take some photos. So everybody that's listening that wants to see what the Grow Depot looks like, 9,000 square foot, over 10,000 items, products. We're going to take as many pictures as we can. You can find the photos either on our Facebook at Cannabis Community Project or on the Facebook page of the Grow Depot.
Our Facebook is Grow Depot Colorado at Gmail. Every few weeks we have different products that are featured on our website to mygrowdepot.com.
You have two websites, correct?
Right. The second website's our e-commerce website. It's growdepotcolorado.com. The growdepotcolorado.com is the e-commerce. You can actually purchase items on there, purchase them, and come pick them up at the store. The mygrowdepot.com is more for the state of Colorado because we have coupons, things on sale. So if you're in the area, check out mygrowdepot.com and you might be able to save some money before you come in the store. Call us at 303-459-7878.
Either one of those places, you'll find these photos. Again, I want to thank Alan. I want to thank Nels, Dylan, and Gridlock working the microphones over here. My name is Brainstorm. We're going to check out for this Saturday afternoon. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, KGSS.
Well, there you go. I hope you liked it and had just as much fun listening to them as I had interviewing them. A bunch of cool guys up there, really knowledgeable and really, really open-hearted about everything they're doing. Keep listening to our show. We got a bunch of new shows lined up for the new year that are going to be just excellent. We're going to be talking to dispensaries and growers, security companies, lawyers, physicians, all sorts of people, those getting involved in hemp. All you got to do is just listen in every Saturday on Geek Street Society Radio, or you can listen directly from my webpage at cannabiscommunityproject.com. You can find us on Facebook also, Cannabis Community Project, and we will be broadcasting every Saturday at 4:20 right here, same place, same time. See you next week.
Don't be surprised when there's a knock on your door. 1%.